Howdy. There we go. Just making sure that the stream looks all right. We're going to be diving into the SC-900 content. I'll be taking the exam on January 8th. And we're just going to get right into it. I'm also using a product called Measure Up to practice for the exam. I'll be, I may do some practice questions in that as well. And let me just minimize this so I can see if, OBS, there we go. Real quick too, this OBS chat never, is there like a way I can pin it or something? Okay, what I'm gonna do really quick before we go any further is go to my channel and go to Studio and go to the live streams. Click on this live stream and whoops, what did I just do? Pop out the chat. There we go, just in case anyone happens to say something, I'll be able to read it. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on Introduction to Microsoft Security Solutions. So far we've described Microsoft Security Copilot, and now we're describing core infrastructure security services in Azure. The traditional network security perimeter is changing as more companies move to either a hybrid cloud environment with some resources located on premises and some in the cloud, or a fully cloud-based network solution. Protection of your organization's assets, resources, and data is essential. Threats can come from any direction. For instance, a denial of service attack on your organization's services, or a hacker trying to access your network by attempting to penetrate your firewall. Azure offers a wide array of configurable security tools that can be customized to give you the security and control to meet your organization's needs. In this module, you explore many different services and features of Azure that help protect your networks, assets, and resources, including DDoS protection, Azure Firewall, network security groups, and more. You'll also learn about Azure Key Vault and why you would use this feature to keep secrets safe. After completing this module, you should be able to describe Azure security capabilities for protecting your network, describe Azure Bastion, describe Azure Key Vault, describe Azure DDoS protection. Any company, large or small, can be the target of a serious network attack. The nature of these attacks might be to make a statement or because the attacker wanted a challenge. Distributed denial of service attacks. The aim of a distributed denial of service attack is to overwhelm the resources on your applications and servers, making them unresponsive or slow for genuine users. A DDoS attack will usually target any public-facing device that can be accessed through the internet. The three most frequent types of DDoS attacks are volumetric attacks. These are volume-based attacks that flood the network layer with seemingly legitimate traffic, overwhelming the available bandwidth. Legitimate traffic can't get through. Protocol attacks. Protocol attacks render a target inaccessible by exhausting server resources with false protocol requests that exploit weaknesses in Layer 3 network and Layer 4 transport protocols. Resource application layer attacks. These attacks target web application packets to disrupt the transmission of data between the hosts. What is Azure DDoS protection? The Azure DDoS protection service is designed to help protect your applications and servers by analyzing network traffic and discarding anything that looks like a DDoS attack. So here you see, there's customers, there's an attacker. It uses the Azure backbone, and then it's filtered through the Azure DDoS protection, and if it thinks it's an attacker, it's going to block it. Azure DDoS protection service protects at Layer 3 network level and Layer 4 transport layer. Key benefits provided include always-on traffic monitoring. Your application traffic patterns are monitored 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, looking for indicators of distributed denial of service attacks. Azure Distributed Denial of Service protection instantly and automatically mitigates the attack once it's detected. As part of the mitigation, traffic sent to the protected resource is redirected by the DDoS protection service, and several checks are performed. Azure DDoS protection drops attack traffic and forwards the remaining traffic to its intended destination. Within a few minutes of attack detection, you're notified using Azure Monitor metrics, adaptive real-time tuning. Intelligent traffic profiling learns your application's traffic over time and selects and updates the profile that is the most suitable for your service. The profile adjusts as traffic changes over time. DDoS protection telemetry monitoring and alerting. Azure DDoS protection exposes rich telemetry via Azure Monitor. You can monitor alerts for any of Azure Monitor metrics that DDoS protection uses. You can integrate logging with Azure Event Hubs, Azure Monitor Logs, and Azure Storage for advanced analysis via the Azure Monitor Diagnostics interface. Azure Distributed Denial of Service protection supports two tier types: DDoS IP protection and DDoS network protection. The tier is configured in the Azure portal when you configure Azure DDoS protection. DDoS network protection. The DDoS network protection service, available as a SKU combined with application design best practices, provides enhanced DDoS mitigation features to defend against DDoS attacks. It's automatically tuned to help protect your specific Azure resources in a virtual network. Protection is simple to enable on any new or existing virtual network and requires no application or resource changes. DDoS IP protection. DDoS IP protection is a pay-per-protected IP model. DDoS IP protection contains the same core engineering features as DDoS network protection, but differs in that it doesn't include the value-added services such as DDoS rapid response support, cost protection, and discounts on web application firewall that are part of DDoS network protection. For a complete listing of the features and corresponding tiers, see About Azure DDoS Protection Tier Comparison. A common question that is often raised is why considering adding DDoS protection services if services running on Azure are inherently protected by the default infrastructure level DDoS protection. The reason is because the protection that safeguards the infrastructure has a higher threshold than most applications have the capacity to handle, and doesn't provide telemetry or alerting. So while traffic volume may be perceived as harmless by the platform, it can be devastating to the application that receives it. By onboarding to the Azure DDoS protection service, the application gets dedicated monitoring to detect attacks and application-specific thresholds. A service will be protected with a profile that is tuned to its expected traffic volume, providing a tighter defense against DDoS attacks. As mentioned earlier, Azure DDoS protection protects at Layer 3 and Layer 4. For web applications protections at Layer 7, the application layer, you need to add protection at the application layer using a web application firewall offering described in the subsequent unit of this module. Describe Azure Firewall. A firewall is a security device, either hardware, software, or a combination of both, that monitors and controls incoming and outgoing network traffic based on predetermined security rules. Its primary purpose is to establish a barrier between a trusted internal network and untrusted external networks, such as the internet, to protect the internal network from malicious attacks. Azure Firewall is a managed cloud-based network security service that provides threat protection for your cloud workloads and resource running in Azure. You can deploy Azure Firewall on any virtual network, but the best approach is to use it on a centralized virtual network. All your other virtual and on-premise networks will then route through it. The advantage of this model is the ability to centrally exert control of network traffic for all your virtual nets across different subscriptions. With Azure Firewall, you can scale up the usage to accommodate changing network traffic flows so you don't need to budget for peak traffic. Network traffic is subjected to the configured firewall rules when you route it to the firewall as subnet default gateway. Key features of Azure Firewall. The list that follows provides a brief description of some of the basic capabilities of Azure Firewall. Stateful Firewall. Azure Firewall is a stateful firewall, meaning it can keep track of the state of active connections and make decisions based on the context of the traffic. Built-in high availability and availability zones. Azure Firewall has built-in high availability, meaning it's designed to ensure continuous operation and minimal downtime. Even in the event of failures or high traffic loads, Azure Firewall can be configured to span multiple availability zones, where each availability zone is made up of one or more data centers equipped with independent power, cooling, and networking. Azure Firewall support for availability zones ensures higher availability and resilience by distributing resources across these separate zones. Network and application level filtering. Azure Firewall allows you to create and enforce network traffic filtering rules for both inbound and outbound traffic. You can define rules based on IP addresses, ports, and protocols. Azure Firewall can filter traffic based on the application layer protocols such as HTTPS. This means you can control access to fully qualified domain names. Source and Destination Network Address Translation, NAT. Network address translation is a method of remapping an IP address into another IP address to manage and secure network traffic. Azure Firewall supports Source Network Address Translation, SNAT. SNAT translates the private IP address of a network resource, the source, to an Azure public IP address. This identifies and allows traffic originating from the virtual network to internet destinations. Similarly, Azure Firewall supports Destination Network Address Translation. With Destination Network Address Translation, the public IP address used to access specific services inside your network is translated and filtered to the private IP addresses of the resource on the virtual network, the destination. This allows traffic originating from the internet to access your private resources. Threat intelligence. Azure Firewall integrates with Microsoft's threat intelligence feed to alert you about known malicious IP addresses and domains, helping to protect your network from threats. Threat intelligence-based filtering can be enabled for your firewall to alert and deny traffic from to known malicious IP addresses and domains. Logging and monitoring. Azure Firewall provides logging and monitoring capabilities to help you keep track of firewall activity and diagnose issues. Logs can be sent to Azure Monitor, Log Analytics, or Event Hubs for further analysis. Integration with Azure services. It integrates seamlessly with other Azure services such as Azure Virtual Networks, Azure Policy, and Azure Security Center, providing a cohesive security solution for your cloud infrastructure. Azure Firewall is offered in 3 SKUs, Standard, Premium, and Basic. Detailed information of the features included for each of the available SKUs, Standard, Premium, and Basic, is provided in the Learn More section in the Summary and Resources unit. Integration with Security Copilot. Azure Firewall is integrated with Microsoft Security Copilot. For organizations onboarded to Microsoft Security Copilot, users can experience the Copilot integration through standalone experience. The Azure Firewall integration helps analysts perform detailed investigations of the malicious traffic intercepted by the network intrusion detection and prevention system available in the standard and premium Azure Firewall SKUs and/or the threat intelligence features, using natural language questions in the Security Copilot standalone experience. To use the Azure Firewall integration with Copilot, the Azure Firewalls to be used with Security Copilot must be configured with resource-specific structured logs for identity prevention system and that's not right. Intrusion and detection prevention system. Too much Microsoft Entra. Identity is stuck in my head. But yeah, IDPS, Intrusion and Detection Prevention System. And these logs must be sent to a log analytics workspace. The users must have role permissions to use Microsoft Security Copilot and must have the appropriate Azure role-based access control roles to access the firewall in associated log analytics workspace. The Azure Firewall plugin in Security Copilot must be turned on. Azure Firewall capabilities in Copilot are built-in prompts that you can use, but you can also enter your own prompts based on the capabilities supported. The summary and resources unit of this module provides a link to more detailed information on Azure Firewall integration in Microsoft Security Copilot. Next unit, describe Web Application Firewall. Web applications are increasingly targeted by malicious attacks that exploit commonly known vulnerabilities. Preventing such attacks in application code is challenging. It can require rigorous maintenance, patching, and monitoring. Web Application Firewall, WAF, provides centralized protection of your web applications from common exploits and vulnerabilities. A centralized WAF helps make security management simpler, improves the response time to a security threat, and allows patching a known vulnerability in one place, instead of securing each individual web application. A WAF also gives application administrators better assurance of protection against threats and intrusions. Among the types of threats that WAF can protect against are distributed denial of service attacks that occur at the application layer. While Azure Distributed Denial of Service Protection Services protects customers against DDoS attacks that can occur at the network and transport layers, Azure WAF protects web applications against application layer DDoS attacks such as HTTP floods. These defenses can prevent attackers from reaching your application and affecting your application's availability and performance. And here it shows, there's an attacker and a bot, and there's the security edge, and the web application firewall stops it, or at least tries to stop it from going through to your Azure resources, other cloud resources that are connected to the WAF, and then your on-premises resources. Integration with Microsoft Security Copilot. Azure Web Application Firewall is integrated with Microsoft Security Copilot. For organizations onboarded to Microsoft Security Copilot, users can experience the Copilot integration through the standalone experience. Azure Web Application Firewall integration in Copilot enables deep investigation of Azure WAF events using natural language prompts and responses. It can help you investigate WAF logs triggered by Azure WAF in a matter of minutes and provide related attack vectors. Azure WAF integration with Copilot provides visibility into your environment's threat landscape. To use the Azure WAF integration in Copilot, the Azure WAF plugin in Security Copilot must be turned on and configured. Azure Web Application Firewall capabilities in Copilot are built-in prompts that you can use, but can also enter your own prompts based on the capabilities supported. The summary and resources unit of this module provides a link to more detailed information on Azure Web Application Firewall integration in Microsoft Security Copilot. Describe network segmentation in Azure. Segmentation is about dividing something into smaller pieces. An organization, for example, will typically consist of smaller business groups such as human resources, sales, customer service, and more. In an office environment, it's common to see each business group have their own dedicated office space while members of the same group share an office. This enables members of the same business group to collaborate while maintaining separation from other groups to address the confidentiality requirements of each business. The same concept applies with corporate IT networks. The main reason for network segmentation are the ability to group related assets that are a part of or support workload operations, isolation of resources, governance policies set by the organization. Network segmentation also supports the zero trust model and a layered approach to security that is part of a defense in-depth strategy. Assume breach is a principle of the zero trust model, so the ability to contain an attacker is vital in protecting information systems. When workloads or parts of a given workload are placed into separate segments, you can control traffic from to those segments to secure communication paths. If one segment is compromised, you'll be able to better contain the impact and prevent it from laterally spreading through the rest of your network. Network segmentation can secure interactions between perimeters. This approach can strengthen an organization's security posture, contain risks in a breach, and stop attackers from gaining access to an entire workload. Azure Virtual Network. Azure Virtual Network is the fundamental building block for your organization's private network in Azure. A virtual network is similar to a traditional network that you'd operate in your own data center, but brings with it additional benefits of Azure's infrastructure such as scale, availability, and isolation. Azure Virtual Network enables organizations to segment their network. Organizations can create multiple virtual networks per region, per subscription, and multiple smaller networks, subnets, can be created within each virtual network. Virtual networks provide network-level containment of resources with no traffic allowed across VNets or inbound to the virtual network by default. Communication needs to be explicitly provisioned. This enables more control over how Azure resources in a virtual network communicate with other Azure resources, the internet, and on-premise networks. So here you have Azure Region 1 with 2 different virtual networks, and then a virtual network in Azure Region 2. Describe Azure Network Security Groups. Network security groups, NSGs, let you filter network traffic to and from Azure resources in an Azure virtual network, for example, a virtual machine. A network security group consists of rules that define how the traffic is filtered. You can associate only one network security group to each virtual network subnet and network interface in a virtual machine. The same network security group, however, can be associated to as many different subnets and network interfaces as you choose. In the highly simplified diagram that follows, you can see an Azure virtual network with 2 subnets that are connected to the internet, and each subnet has a virtual machine. Subnet 1 has a network security group assigned to it that's filtering inbound and outbound access to VM1, which needs a higher level of access. In contrast, VM2 could represent a public-facing machine that doesn't require a network security group. Inbound and outbound network security, or inbound and outbound security rules. A network security group is made up of inbound and outbound security rules. Network security group security rules are evaluated by priority using 5 information points: source, source port, destination, destination port, and protocol to either allow or deny the traffic. By default, Azure creates a series of rules, 3 inbound and 3 outbound rules to provide a baseline level of security. You can't remove the default rules, but you can override them by creating new rules and higher priorities. Each rule specifies one or more of the following properties. Name. Every network security group rule needs to have a unique name that describes its purpose. For example, admin access only filter. Priority. Rules are processed in priority order, with lowest numbers processed before higher numbers. When traffic matches a rule, processing stops. This means that any other rules with a lower priority, higher numbers, won't be processed. Source or destination. Specify either individual IP address or an IP address range. Service tag, a group of IP address prefixes from a given Azure service or application security group. Specifying a range, a service tag, or application security group enables you to create fewer security rules. Protocol. What network protocol will the rule check? The protocol can be any of TCP, UDP, ICMP, or any. Direction. Whether the rule should be applied to inbound or outbound traffic. Port range. You can specify an individual or range of ports. Specifying ranges enables you to be more efficient when creating security rules. Action. Finally, you need to decide what will happen when this rule is triggered. The screenshot that follows shows the default inbound rules and outbound, which are included in all network security groups. Descriptions for the default inbound rules are as follows. Allow VNet inbound. The allow VNet inbound rule is processed first as it has the lowest priority value. Recall that rules with the lowest priority value get processed first. This rule allows traffic from a source with the virtual network service tag to a destination with the virtual network service tag on any port using any protocol. If a match is found for this rule, then no other rules are processed. If no match is found, then the next rule gets processed. Allow Azure Load Balancer inbound. The allow Azure Load Balancer inbound rule is processed second as its priority value is higher than the allow virtual network inbound rule. This rule allows traffic from a source with the Azure Load Balancer service tag to a destination with the Azure Load Balancer service tag on any port to any IP address on any port using any protocol. If a match is found for this rule, then no other rules are processed. If no match is found, then the next rule gets processed. Deny all inbound. The last rule in this network security group is the deny all inbound rule. This rule denies all traffic from any source IP address on any port to any other IP address on any port using any protocol. In summary, any virtual network subnet or network interface card to which this network security group is assigned will only allow inbound traffic from an Azure virtual network or an Azure load balancer as defined by the respective service tags. All other inbound network traffic is denied. You can't remove the default rules, but you can override them by creating new rules with higher priorities, lower priority value. What is the difference between network security groups and Azure Firewall? Now that you've learned about both network security groups and Azure Firewall, you may also be wondering how they differ, as they both protect virtual network resources. The Azure Firewall service complements network security group functionality. Together, they provide better defense-in-depth network security. Network security groups provide distributed network layer traffic filtering to limit traffic to resources within virtual networks in each subscription. Azure Firewall is a fully stateful centralized network firewall as a service, which provides network and application level protection against different subscriptions and virtual networks. Next unit, describe Azure Bastion. Let's assume you've set up multiple virtual networks that use a combination of network security groups and Azure firewalls to protect and filter access to the assets and resources, including the virtual machines. You're now protected from external threats, but need to allow your developers and data scientists who are working remotely direct access to those VMs. In a traditional model, you need to expose the remote desktop protocol, RDP, and/or secure shell SSH ports to the internet. These protocols can be used to gain remote access to your VMs. This process creates a significant surface threat that can be exploited by attackers who actively hunt accessible machines with open management ports like RDP or SSH. When a VM is successfully compromised, it's used as the entry point to attack further resources within your environment. Azure Bastion. Azure Bastion is a service you deploy that lets you connect to a virtual machine using your browser and the Azure portal. The Azure Bastion service is a fully platform-managed platform as a service that you provision inside your virtual network. Azure Bastion provides secure and seamless RDP connectivity to your virtual machine directly from the Azure portal using transport layer security. When you connect via Azure Bastion, your virtual machine doesn't need a public IP address, agent, or special client software. Bastion provides secure RDP and SSH connectivity to all VMs in the virtual network and peered virtual networks in which it's provisioned. Using Azure Bastion protects your virtual machines from exposing RDP SSH ports to the outside world, while still providing secure access using RDP SSH. Azure Bastion deployment is per virtual network with support for virtual network peering, not per subscription, account, or virtual machine. Once you provision the Azure Bastion service in your virtual network, the RDP SSH experience is available to all VMs in the same VNet and peered VNets. Excuse me, I'll read that sentence again. Once you provision the Azure Bastion service in your virtual network, the RDP SSH experience is available to all your VMs in the same VNet and peered VNets. Key benefits of Azure Bastion. The following are key benefits of Azure Bastion. RDP and SSH directly in Azure portal. You get to the RDP and SSH session directly in the Azure portal using a single-click experience. Remote session over TLS, or Transport Layer Security, and firewall traversal for RDP and SSH. From the Azure portal, a connection to the VM will open an HTML5-based web client that is automatically streamlined to your local device. You'll get your remote desktop, RDP, and secure shell to traverse the corporate firewall securely. That connection is made secure by using the Transport Layer Security protocol to establish encryption. No public IP required on the Azure VM. Azure Bastion opens the RDP SSH connection to your Azure virtual machine using private IP on your VM. You don't need a public IP. No hassle managing network security groups. A fully managed platform as a service from Azure that's hardened internally to provide secure remote desktop protocol and SSH connectivity. You don't need to apply any network security groups on an Azure Bastion subnet. Protection against port scanning. Because you don't need to expose your virtual machines to the internet, your VMs are protected against port scanning by rogue and malicious users located outside your virtual network. Hardening in one place to protect against zero-day exploit. Azure Bastion is a fully platform-managed platform as a service. Because it sits at the perimeter of your virtual network, you don't need to worry about hardening each virtual machine in the virtual network. The Azure platform protects against zero-day exploits by keeping the Azure Bastion hardened and always up to date for you. Use Azure Bastion to establish secure RDP and SSH connectivity to your virtual machines in Azure. Azure Bastion offers multiple SKU tiers. For more information on Azure Bastion, including the features available in available SKUs, see the link documentation titled "What is Azure Bastion?" in the Learn More section of the summary and the resources unit. Describe Azure Key Vault. Azure Key Vault is a cloud service for securely storing and accessing secrets. A secret is anything that you want to tightly control access to, such as API keys, passwords, certificates, or cryptographic keys. Azure Key Vault helps solve the following problems. Secrets management. You can use Azure Key Vault to store securely and tightly control access to tokens, passwords, certificates, application, programming interface, API keys, and other secrets. Key management. You can use Key Vault as a key management solution. Key Vault makes it easier to create and control the encryption keys used to encrypt your data. Certificate management. Key Vault lets you provision, manage, and deploy your public and private secure sockets layer, transport layer security, SSL TLS certificates for use with Azure and internally connected resources. Azure Key Vault has two service tiers: Standard, which encrypts with a software key, and a Premium tier, which includes hardware security module, HSM protected keys. Why use Key Vault? Centralize application secrets. Centralizing storage of application secrets in Azure Key Vault allows you to control their distribution and greatly reduces the chances that secrets may be accidentally leaked. When application developers use Key Vault, they no longer need to store security information as part of the code in their application. Instead, the application can securely access the information it needs by using a Key Vault object identifier that uniquely identifies the object within the Key Vault. Key Vault object identifiers are URLs that allow the application to retrieve specific versions of a secret. There's no need to write custom code to protect any of the secret information stored in Key Vault. Examples of the URL format for a standard tier Azure Key Vault object identifier and the premium tier managed HSM are as follows. For standard tier vaults, it's vaultname.vault.azure.net/object type/object name/object version. For managed HSM, it's https://hsmname.managedhsm.azure.net/object type/object name/object version. Securely store secrets and keys. Access to a Key Vault requires proper authentication and authorization before a caller, user, or application can get access. Authentication establishes the identity of the caller, while authorization determines the operations that they're allowed to perform. Authentication is done via Microsoft Entra. Authorization may be done via Azure Role-Based Access Control or Key Vault Access Policy. Azure Key Vault is designed so that Microsoft doesn't see or extract your data. Monitor access and use. Once you've created a couple of Key Vaults, you can monitor activity by enabling logging for your vaults. You have control over your logs, and you may secure them by restricting access, and you may also delete logs that you no longer need. Simplified administration of application secrets. Azure Key Vault simplifies the administration that would typically be required to secure your application secrets, including replicating the contents of your Key Vault within a region into a secondary region. Data replication ensures high availability and takes away the need of any action from the administrator to trigger failover, providing standard Azure administration options via the portal, Azure CLI, and PowerShell. Automating certain tasks on certificates that you purchase from public certificate authorities, such as enrollment and renewal. And here's a photo. Administrator with Azure subscription creates and manages Key Vaults. Then universal resource indicators for the keys go to the Azure developer. And then the security administrator gets usage logging for keys. In addition, Azure Key Vaults allows you to segregate application secrets. Applications may access only the vault that they're allowed to access, and they can be limited to only perform specific operations. You can create an Azure Key Vault per application and restrict the secrets stored in a Key Vault to a specific application and team of developers. Now it's time for the module assessment. The security admin has created an Azure Network Security Group to filter network traffic to a virtual machine. The admin wants to allow inbound traffic using the remote desktop protocol, but the default network security group rules are currently blocking all inbound traffic that is not from another virtual network or an Azure load balancer. What does the security admin have to do to allow an inbound traffic using RDP? And it would be this one. Create a new network security rule that allows RDP traffic, and that has a higher priority than the default rule. The security admin wants to protect Azure resources from distributed denial of service attacks and needs logging, alerting, and telemetry capabilities. Which Azure service can provide these capabilities? And and that would be DDoS network protection. An organization has several virtual machines in Azure. The security admin wants to deploy Azure Bastion to get secure access to those VMs. What should the admin keep in mind? And it would be Azure Bastion is deployed per virtual machine. How can application developers benefit from using Azure Key Vault to test and debug their application code to securely store and retrieve application secrets? I was wrong with this one. It must be Azure Bastion is deployed per virtual network with support for virtual network peering. Let me do this again. The security admin has created an Azure Network Security Group to filter network traffic to a virtual machine. The admin wants to allow inbound traffic using the remote desktop protocol, but the default network security group rules are currently blocking all inbound traffic that is not from another virtual network or an Azure load balancer. What does the security admin have to do to allow inbound traffic using RDP? Create a new network security rule that allows RDP traffic and that has a higher priority than default rule. There's nothing the admin can do. RDP traffic isn't supported with network security groups. The security admin wants to protect Azure resources from distributed denial of service attacks and needs logging, alerting, and telemetry capabilities, which Azure service can provide these capabilities. And that would be the DDoS network protection. An organization has several virtual machines in Azure. The security admin wants to deploy Azure Bastion to get secure access to those VMs. What should the admin keep in mind? And it's going to be Azure Bastion is deployed per virtual network with support for virtual network peering. How can application developers benefit from using Azure Key Vault? To securely store and retrieve application secrets. The traditional network security perimeter protects your organization's assets, resources, where data is essential. Azure offers a wide range of configurable security tools that are customized to give the security and control to meet your organization's needs. You've explored the different service offerings provided by Azure, including DDoS protection, Azure Firewall, network security groups, and Azure Bastion to protect access to your systems. You now understand the reasons to use Azure Key Vault. Without these security tools, your organization would be vulnerable to data theft, unable to respond swiftly to malicious attacks on your web and data services, and wouldn't meet your security obligations. Now that you've completed this module, you should be able to describe Azure security capabilities for protecting your network, describe Azure Bastion, and describe Azure Key Vault. So let's do the next module in the learning path, which is describe the security management capabilities in Azure. Learn about Microsoft Defender for Cloud and the capabilities it brings together to protect your cloud through secure score, recommendations, and enhanced features that provide cloud workload protection. And the general prerequisites are general understanding of networking and cloud computing concepts, check. General IT knowledge or any general experience working in an IT environment, check. General understanding of Microsoft Azure, Microsoft 365, check. As more companies move their assets and resources into the cloud, keeping them safe is a primary consideration for all IT and security departments. Cybercrime is a multi-billion-dollar business. Failure to protect your organization can be costly because of the loss of data and reputation. Microsoft Azure offers a suite of threat protection and detection systems to minimize and mitigate threats across your whole estate and improve the overall cloud security posture. In this module, you'll learn about Microsoft Defender for Cloud and how it uses security policies and initiatives to improve cloud security posture. You'll also learn how each of these three pillars of Microsoft Defender for Cloud protect against Cyber threats and vulnerabilities. After completing this module, you'll be able to describe Microsoft Defender for Cloud, describe how security policies and initiatives improve cloud security posture, describe how the three pillars of Microsoft Defender for Cloud protect against cyber threats and vulnerabilities. Microsoft Defender for Cloud is a cloud-native application protection platform. CNAP, with a set of security measures and practices designed to protect cloud-based applications from various cyber threats and vulnerabilities. Defender for Cloud combines the capabilities of a development security operations DevSecOps solution that unifies security management at the code level across multi-cloud and multiple pipeline environments, a cloud security posture management CSPM solution that surfaces actions that you can take to prevent breaches, a cloud workload protection platform, CWPP, with specific protections for servers, containers, storage, databases, and other workloads. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, unify your DevOps security management, strengthen and manage your cloud security posture, protect your cloud workloads. DevSecOps Defender for Cloud helps you to incorporate good security practices early during the software development process, or DevSecOps. You can protect your code management environments and your code pipelines and get insights into your development environment and security posture from a single location. Defender for DevOps, a service available in Defender for Cloud, empowers security teams to manage DevOps security across multiple pipeline environments. CSPM, the security of your cloud and on-premises resources depends on proper configuration and deployment. Cloud security posture management assesses your systems and automatically alerts security staff and your IT department when a vulnerability is found. CSPM uses tools and services in your cloud environment to monitor and prioritize security enhancements and features admins can take to secure the environment. CWPP, proactive security principles require that you implement security practices that protect your workloads from threats. Cloud workload protection, CWP, surface workload specific recommendations that lead you to the right security controls to protect your workloads. When your environment is threatened, security alerts right away indicate the nature and severity of the threat so you can plan your response. Microsoft Defender for Cloud, through its DevSecOps, CSPM, and CWPP capabilities, enables organizations to manage the security of their resources and workloads in the cloud and on-premises and improve their overall security posture. Also, for businesses that are onboarded to Microsoft Security Copilot, Microsoft Defender for Cloud embeds capabilities of Microsoft Security Copilot. Specifically, the integration with Copilot allows you to analyze, summarize, remediate, and delegate recommendations using natural language prompts. When you enable Defender for Cloud, you automatically gain access to Microsoft Defender XDR, an enterprise defense suite that natively coordinates detection, prevention, investigation, and response against endpoints, identities, email, and applications to provide integrated protection against sophisticated attacks. Information on Microsoft XDR is covered in a subsequent module. DevSecOps, CSPM, and CWPP are covered in more detail through the rest of this module, but first it's important to start with an understanding of the policies and security initiatives that Microsoft Defender for Cloud applies in the course of making recommendations. Describe how security policies and initiatives improve cloud security posture. Microsoft Defender for Cloud enables organizations to manage the security of their resources and workloads in the cloud and on-premises and improve their overall security posture. It does this by using policy definitions and security initiatives, so it's important to understand these terms. An Azure policy definition created in Azure Policy is a rule about specific security conditions that you want controlled. Azure Policy supports built-in definitions, but you can also create your own custom policy definitions. A security initiative is a collection of Azure policy definitions or rules grouped together towards a specific goal or purpose. Security initiatives simplify management of your policies by grouping a set of policies together logically as a single item. To implement policy definitions or initiatives, you assign them to any scope of resources that are supported, such as management groups, subscriptions, resource groups, or individual resources. Microsoft Defender for Cloud applies security initiatives to your subscriptions. These initiatives contain one or more security policies. Each of those policies results in a security recommendation for improving your security posture. Security administrators can build their own custom security initiatives in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. But there's also a default built-in security initiative named Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark that is automatically assigned when you enable Microsoft Defender for Cloud on your subscription. Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. The Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark is a Microsoft-authored set of guidelines for security and compliance that provides best practices and recommendations to help improve the security of workloads, data, and services on Azure and your multi-cloud environment. The MCSB builds on the controls from the Center for Internet Security, CIS, and the National Institute of Standards and Technology, NIST, with a focus on cloud-centric security. The best way to understand the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark is to view it on GitHub. Spoiler alert, it's an Excel spreadsheet. The Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark provides many columns of data. Some key pieces of information include ID. Each line item on the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark has an identifier that maps to a specific recommendation. It's kind of old. It's from 3 years ago. There we go. Take a look at that later. Control domain. A control is a high-level description of a feature or activity that needs to be addressed and isn't specific to a technology or implementation. Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark control domains include network security, data protection, identity management, privileged access, incident response, endpoint security, to name just a few. Mapping to industry frameworks. The recommendations included in the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark map to existing industry frameworks such as Center for Internet Security, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, and the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standards (PCI DSS) frameworks. This makes security and compliance easier for customer applications running on Azure services. Recommendation. For each control domain area, there can be many distinct recommendations. For example, the network security control domain in Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark version 1 has 10 distinct recommendations identified as network security 1 through NS10, in which the first recommendation identified as NS1 to establish network segmentation boundaries. Azure Guidance. Azure Guidance is focused on the how, and it elaborates on the relevant technical features and ways to implement the controls in Azure. In the example of NS1, the Azure Guidance includes information regarding creating a virtual network using network security groups and using an application security group. AWS Guidance. The AWS Guidance is focused on the how specific to AWS, explaining the AWS technical features and implementation basics. The Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark also includes links to information on implementation that relate to the Azure and AWS guidance, information about security functions as the customer organization who may be accountable, responsible, or consulted for the respective control, and more. An excerpt from the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark version 1, Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark v1, is shown and as an example of the type of content that is included in the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. The image isn't intended to show the complete text for any of the line items. So here we have the ID, the control domain, the CIS controls, NIST, PCI DSS, recommendation, security principle, Azure guidance, implementation, and additional context, and AWS guidance. Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark and Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Microsoft Defender for Cloud continuously assesses an organization's hybrid cloud environment to analyze the risk factors according to the controls and best practices in the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. The regulatory compliance dashboard in Microsoft Defender for Cloud reflects the status of your compliance with the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmarks and any other standards that you've applied to your subscriptions. Some of the controls in the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark include network security, identity and access control, data protection, data recovery, incident response, and more. What is the security recommendation? Recommendations are the result of assessing your resources against the relevant policies and identifying resources that aren't meeting your defined requirements. Defender for Cloud periodically analyzes the compliance status of your resources to identify potential security misconfigurations and weaknesses. It then provides you with recommendations on how to remediate those issues. Defender for Cloud makes its security recommendations based on your chosen initiatives and the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark Default Initiative. When a policy from an initiative is compared against your resources and finds one or more that aren't compliant, it's presented as a recommendation in Defender for Cloud. Recommendations are actions for you to take to secure and harden your resources. Each recommendation provides you with the following information: a short description of the issue, the remediation steps to carry out in order to implement the recommendation, and the affected resources. Security recommendations contain details that help you understand its significance and how to handle it. I'm gonna grab a video reading this with my Meta glasses really quick. What is a security recommendation? Recommendations are the result of assessing your resources against the relevant policies and identifying that. Oh, I messed up. Let me start over. What is a security recommendation? Recommendations are the result of accessing. Funny thing is that I've been on camera live, but when I turn this camera on, I choke. What is a security recommendation? Recommendations are the result of accessing your resources against the relevant policies and identifying resources that aren't meeting your defined requirements. Defender for Cloud periodically analyzes the compliance of your resources to identify potential security misconfigurations and weaknesses. It then provides you with recommendations on how to remediate those issues. Defender for Cloud makes its security recommendations based on your chosen initiatives and the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark Default Initiative. When a policy from an initiative is compared against your resources and finds one or more that aren't compliant, it's presented as a recommendation in Defender for Cloud. Recommendations are actions for you to take to secure and harden your resources. Each recommendation provides you with the following information: a short description of the issue, the remediation steps to carry out in order to implement the recommendation, and the affected resources. Security recommendations contain details that help you understand its significance and how to handle it. Describe cloud security posture management. One of the Microsoft Defender for Cloud main pillars for cloud security is cloud security posture management. Cloud security posture management provides you with hardening guidance that helps you efficiently and effectively improve your security. Cloud security posture management also gives you visibility into your current security situation. Secure Score. The central feature in Microsoft Defender for Cloud that provides visibility to your current security posture is Secure Score. Defender for Cloud continually accesses your cross-cloud resources for security issues. It then aggregates all the findings into a single score so that you can tell at a glance your current security situation. The higher the score, the lower the identified risk level. All Defender for Cloud customers automatically gain access to the Secure Score when they enable Defender for Cloud. Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, MCSB, is automatically applied to your environments and generates all the built-in recommendations that are part of this default initiative. Hardening recommendations. Microsoft Defender for Cloud also provides hardening recommendations based on any identified security misconfigurations and weaknesses. Recommendations are grouped into security controls. Each control is a logical group of related security recommendations and reflects your vulnerable attack surfaces. Your score only improves when you remediate all of the recommendations for a single resource within a control. Use these security recommendations to strengthen the security posture of your organization's Azure, hybrid, and multi-cloud resources. Integration with Microsoft Security Copilot. For businesses that are onboarded to Microsoft Security Copilot, Microsoft Defender for Cloud embeds the capabilities of Microsoft Security Copilot on the recommendations page. Microsoft Copilot and Microsoft Defender for Cloud can help support security professionals to understand the context of a recommendation, the effect of implementing a recommendation, assist with remediating or delegating a recommendation, and assist with the remediation of misconfigurations in code. Defender Cloud Service Protection Management Plan. Defender for Cloud offers foundational multi-cloud CSPM capabilities for free. These capabilities are automatically enabled by default on any subscription or account that is onboarded to Defender for Cloud. The foundational CSPM includes asset discovery, continuous assessment, and security recommendations for posture hardening, compliance with Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, and Secure Score. The optional Defender Cloud Security or CSPM plan provides advanced posture management capabilities and tools to assess your security compliance with a wide range of benchmarks, regulatory standards, and any custom security policies. For a complete list of features and foundational and advanced Defender CSPM plans, see Defender CSPM plan options. Describe the enhanced security of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. A pillar of cloud security is a cloud workload protection. Through cloud workload protection capabilities, Microsoft Defender for Cloud is able to detect and resolve threats to resources, workloads, and services. Cloud workload protections are delivered through integrated Microsoft Defender plans specific to the types of resources in your subscriptions and provide enhanced security features for your workloads. Microsoft Defender for Cloud includes a range of advanced intelligent protections for your workloads. The workload protections are provided through Microsoft Defender plans specific to the types of resources in your subscriptions. Some of the Microsoft Defender for Cloud plans you can select from include Microsoft Defender for Servers adds threat detection and advanced defenses for your Windows and Linux machines. Microsoft Defender for App Service identifies attacks targeting applications running over app service. Microsoft Defender for Storage detects potentially harmful activity on your Azure storage accounts. Microsoft Defender for SQL secures your databases and their data whenever they're located. Microsoft Defender for Kubernetes provides cloud-native Kubernetes service, environment hardening, workload protection, and runtime protection. Microsoft Defender for Container Registries protects all Azure Resource Manager-based registries in your subscription. Microsoft Defender for Key Vault is advanced threat protection for Azure Key Vault. Microsoft Defender for Resource Manager automatically monitors the resource management operations in your organization. Microsoft Defender for DNS provides an additional layer of protection for resources that use Azure DNS's Azure-provided name resolution capability. Microsoft Defender for Open Source Relational Protections brings threat protections for open source relational databases. These different plans can be enabled separately and will run simultaneously to provide a comprehensive defense for your compute, data, and service layers in your environment. Enhanced security features. Microsoft Defender plans specific to the types of resources in your subscriptions provide enhanced security features for your workloads. Listed below are some of the enhanced security features. Comprehensive endpoint detection and response. Microsoft Defender for Servers includes Microsoft Defender for Endpoint for comprehensive endpoint comprehensive endpoint detection and response, EDR. Vulnerability scanning for virtual machines, container registries, and SQL resources. Easily deploy scanner to all your virtual machines. View, investigate, and remediate your findings directly within Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Multi-cloud security. Connect to your accounts from Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud Platform to protect resources and workloads on those platforms with a range of Microsoft Defender for Cloud security features. Hybrid security. Get a unified view of security across all your on-premises and cloud workloads. Apply security policies and continuously assess the security of your hybrid cloud workloads to ensure compliance with security standards. Collect, search, and analyze security data from multiple sources, including firewalls and other partner solutions. Threat protection alerts. Monitor networks, machines, and cloud services for incoming attacks and post-breach activity. Streamline investigation with interactive tools and contextual threat intelligence. Track, track compliance with a range of standards. Microsoft Defender for Cloud continuously assesses your hybrid cloud environment to analyze the risk factors according to the controls and best practices in Azure Security Benchmark. When you enable the enhanced security features, you apply a range of other industry standards, regulatory standards, and benchmarks according to organizations' needs. Add standards and track your compliance with them from the Regulatory Compliance Dashboard. Access and application controls. Block malware and other unwanted applications by applying machine learning-powered recommendations adapted to your specific workloads to create allow lists and block lists. Reduce network attack surface with just-in-time controlled access to management ports on Azure VMs. Access and application controls drastically reduce exposure to brute force and other network attacks. Additional benefits include threat protection for the resources connected to the Azure environment and container security features, among others. Some features may be associated with specific Defender plans for specific workloads. Enable the enhanced security features of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Enhanced security off. Continuous assessment and security recommendations. Secure score. Just-in-time access. In-time virtual machine access. Adaptive application controls and network hardening. Regulatory compliance dashboard and reports. Threat protection for Azure virtual machines and non-Azure servers, including server endpoint detection response. Threat protection for supported platform as a service services. So that's with enhanced security off. And then enable all Microsoft Defender for Cloud plans has all those. Describe DevOps security management. DevOps can combine development and operations to unite people, process, and technology in application planning, development, delivery, and operations. Modern enterprises rely on DevOps platforms for deployment, including the pipelines and production environments that developers require to be productive. Traditional application security methods didn't consider the increased attack surface that these pipelines and production environments represent for hackers. But now, with hackers shifting left and targeting these upstream tools, a new approach is needed to secure DevOps platform environments. Defender for DevOps, a service available in Defender for Cloud, empowers security teams to manage DevOps security across multi-pipeline environments. Defender for DevOps uses a central console to empower security teams with the ability to protect applications, measure, and resources from code to cloud across multi-pipeline environments, such as GitHub and Azure DevOps. Findings from Defender for DevOps can then be correlated with other contextual cloud security insights to prioritize remediation and code. Key capabilities in Defender for DevOps include unified visibility into DevOps security posture. Security administrators now have full visibility into DevOps inventory and security posture of pre-production application code. They can configure their DevOps resources across multi-pipeline and multi-cloud environments in a single view that includes findings from code, secrets, and open source dependency vulnerability scans. They can also assess the security configurations of their DevOps environment. Strengthen cloud resource configuration throughout the development lifecycle. You can enable security of infrastructure as a code, IAC templates, used to define and deploy the infrastructure rapidly and reliably to minimize cloud misconfigurations reaching production environments. This allows security administrators to focus on any critical evolving threats. Prioritize remediation of critical issues in code. Apply comprehensive code to cloud contextual insights within Defender for Cloud. Security admins can help developers prioritize critical code fixes with pull request annotations and assign developer ownership by triggering custom workflows feeding directly into the tools developers use. Defender for DevOps allows you to manage your connected DevOps environments and provides your security teams with a high-level overview of discovered issues that may exist within them and through the Defender for DevOps console. Here you can see the vulnerabilities, ones that are marked high, medium, and low. 169 are code scanning vulnerabilities, 31 are OSS vulnerabilities, 18 exposed secrets, 28 recommendations. Like this could be the exposed secrets, they could use Key Vault. GitHub connectors, 1. Azure DevOps connectors is 1. Shows the amount of GitHub repositories and Azure DevOps repositories. Defender for DevOps helps unify, strengthen, and manage multi-pipeline DevOps security. Microsoft Defender for Cloud covers 3 pillars of cloud security. Which pillar provides visibility to help you understand your current security situation and provides hardening recommendations. And that would be the benchmark. An organization wants to add vulnerability scanning for its Azure resources to view, investigate, and remediate the findings directly within Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Which functionality of Microsoft Defender for Cloud would they need to consider? Uh, I think that'd be security benchmarks. Which framework does Microsoft Defender for Cloud apply as a default initiative for security and compliance and provides best practices and recommendations to help improve the security of workloads, data, and services on Azure in your multi-cloud environment? Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Which capability allows you to manage your connected DevOps environments and provide security teams with visibility to discovered issues within those environments? And that would be the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Or I think so. No, I did not do good at all. I failed. This is the first one I failed. So I guess I do not have this one really down. Let me try again. Microsoft Defender for Cloud covers 3 pillars of cloud security. Which pillar provides visibility to help you understand your current security situation and provides hardening recommendations? Would it be the cloud security posture management? An organization wants to add vulnerability scanning for its Azure resources to view, investigate, and remediate findings directly within Microsoft Defender for Cloud. What functionality of Microsoft Defender for Cloud would they need to consider? This one is the Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark, and this one is Defender for DevOps Console. Still got the second one wrong. Try again. Microsoft Defender for Cloud covers 3 pillars of cloud security. Which pillar provides visibility to help you understand your current security situation and provides hardening recommendations? Cloud security posture management. An organization wants to add vulnerability scanning for its Azure resources to view, investigate, and remediate the findings directly within Microsoft Defender for Cloud. What functionality of Microsoft Defender for Cloud would they need to consider? And that would be the enhanced functionality that's provided through the Microsoft Defender plans and is part of the CWP pillar of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Which framework does Microsoft Defender for Cloud apply as a default initiative for security compliance and provides best practices and recommendations to help improve the security of workloads, data, and services on Azure and multi-cloud environment? Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Which capability allows you to manage your connected development operations environments and provides your security teams with a visibility to discovered issues within those environments? Okay, yeah, that's what it is. Since I failed it, I'll read through these one more time. Microsoft Defender for Cloud covers 3 pillars of cloud security. Which pillar provides visibility to help you understand your current security situation and provides hardening recommendations? Cloud security posture management. An organization wants to add vulnerability scanning for its Azure resources to view, investigate, and remediate the findings directly within Microsoft Defender for Cloud. What functionality of Microsoft Defender for Cloud would they need to consider? The enhanced functionality that is provided through the Microsoft Defender plans and is part of the CWD pillar of Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Which framework does Microsoft Defender for Cloud apply as a default initiative for security and compliance and provides best practices and recommendations to help improve the security of workloads, data, and services on Azure and your multi-cloud environment? And I put Microsoft Cloud Security Benchmark. Which capability allows you to manage your connected DevOps environments and provides your security teams with visibility to discovered issues within those environments? And I put the Defender for DevOps console. Summary and resources. You learned about Microsoft Defender for Cloud and how it uses security policies and initiatives to improve cloud security posture. You also learned how each of the three pillars of Microsoft Defender for Cloud protect against cyber threats and vulnerabilities. Now that you've completed this module, you should be able to describe Microsoft Defender for Cloud, describe how security policies and initiatives improve cloud security posture, describe how the three pillars of Microsoft Defender for Cloud protect against cyber threats and vulnerabilities. I'm going to complete the module. All right, I'm going to take just a really quick break. Oh. Look at the battery life too, about half. I'm going to do a bunch of measure up questions because I think I'm about pretty much done with reading today. Go ahead and open this up. We're going to launch it. We are going to click next, resume test. What can you use to assign retention settings at an item level? I think that'd be a retention label. You can use a retention label to assign retention settings at an item level. This applies retention settings to the relevant folder, document, or email item. You cannot use an alert policy to assign retention settings at an item level. Alert policies can be used in the Microsoft Purview portal or the Microsoft Defender to specify conditions and threshold levels to monitor who the policy should apply to and who should be notified when the alerts are triggered. You cannot use a retention policy to assign retention settings at an item level. Retention policies are intended to apply retention settings to the content at a more aggregated level, such as a SharePoint site or an Exchange mailbox. You cannot use a sensitivity label to assign retention settings at an item level. Security labels allow you to classify your organization's data and enforce relevant protection settings, such as encryption or watermarking. You need to control permissions to manage Microsoft Entra resources using role-based access control. What is the minimum Microsoft Entra license required to meet each of the requirements? To answer, select the appropriate options from the drop-down menus. Monitor service help. I believe that'd be free. Create a custom role for a specific resource. I believe that'd be a P1. Monitoring service health can be performed by users with the built-in roles in Microsoft Entra, such as the Service Support Administrator role. Using the built-in roles only requires the Microsoft Entra free license. Creating a custom role in Microsoft Entra requires a Microsoft Entra Premium license. The P1 is lower cost. That P2 can meet the requirements. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Conditional access policies can be applied to external users. I believe that's yes. Conditional access policies can be applied to user groups. I believe that's also yes. Conditional access policies are enforced before first factor authentication is completed. That is no. Conditional access policies can be applied to external users. In the conditional access policy settings, you can choose the all guests and external users option, which will enforce it to any business-to-business guest account or user with the value guest in their user type attribute. Conditional access policies can be applied to user groups. In the conditional access policy settings, you can choose the user and the groups option and assign the policy to relevant dynamic, distribution, or security groups in Microsoft Entra ID. Conditional access policies are not enforced before first factor authentication is completed. Conditional access policies can help you to enforce multi-factor authentication. For example, when users try to access specific applications or sign in from certain locations. However, conditional access policies are enforced after first factor authentication is completed when the user identity is verified. And this is going to be a failing score. Yeah. We're going to retake the test. We'll do the practice. And I'll be back in 1 moment. go through this test. Sensitivity labels can be applied to content in third-party apps and services. I think that's a no. The files and email scope for sensitivity labels is disabled by default. Yes. You can apply multiple sensitivity labels to an item. Yes. Oh, well, I got every single one wrong. Sensitivity labels can be applied to content in third-party apps and services. By using Microsoft Defender for cloud apps, you can label content in third-party apps and services, even if they do not read or support sensitivity labels by design. The files and email scope for sensitivity labels is not disabled by default. The files and email scope is enabled by default. Two other scope options, groups and sites, and Microsoft Purview assets, Preview, are enabled by default only if you configure their settings explicitly on the tenant level. You cannot apply multiple sensitivity labels to an item. An item such as an Office document, email, or SharePoint site can only have one sensitivity label applied to it. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Microsoft Defender for Identity protects on-premises Active Directory users. Yes. Microsoft Defender for Identity protects cloud-only Microsoft Entra users. Yes. Microsoft Defender for Identity can detect on-premise attacks on Active Directory Federation services. That one might be no, but I'll click yes. So Microsoft Defender for Identity protects cloud-only Microsoft Entra users. Microsoft Defender for Identity protects on-premises Active Directory users. It can also protect users synced to Microsoft Entra ID. By leveraging signals from on-premises Active Directory, Microsoft Defender for Identity is able to detect advanced threats and protect user identities and credentials. Microsoft Defender for Identity does not protect cloud-only Microsoft Entra users. For protection of cloud-only accounts, you should use Microsoft Entra ID Protection, which automates the detection and remediation of identity-based advanced threats in the Microsoft Entra Cloud environment. Microsoft Defender for Identity can detect on-premises attacks on Active Directory Federation services. It can analyze authentication events generated by Active Directory Federation services to derive insights and detect potential on-premises identity attacks against your Active Directory Federation services infrastructure. You have implemented Microsoft Entra password protection in your organization. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Custom band password lists and password protection are a feature of Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2. That's yes. Brand names are excluded from the custom password list. I think that's no. Admins can integrate Microsoft Entra password protection with on-premises Active Directory environment. I believe that is yes. Okay, I actually got that one right. Password protection is a feature of Microsoft Entra ID that actively reduces the risk for users against setting weak passwords. Password protection includes global banned password list. This list is maintained and enforced by Microsoft. The Microsoft Entra ID protection team at Microsoft maintains this list by actively analyzing telemetry data specific to security. The team also scans for weak or compromised passwords. This list is sourced from real-world actual password spray attacks. Custom banned password list. This is a feature of Microsoft Entra ID P1 or P2 editions. Passwords added to the custom banned password list should be focused on organizational specific terms such as brand names, product names, locations such as company headquarters, custom company specific internal terms, and abbreviations that have specific company meaning. Admins can integrate Microsoft Entra password protection within an on-premises Active Directory environment. Hybrid security allows an admin to install a component in the on-premises environment that receives the global banned password list and custom password protection policies from Microsoft Entra ID. This hybrid approach ensures that wherever a user changes their password, Microsoft Entra password protection is applied. You want to quickly enforce multi-factor authentication registration for all your Microsoft Entra ID users. What should you do? Enable security defaults. You should enable security defaults to quickly enforce multi-factor authentication registration for all your Microsoft Entra ID users. Enabling security defaults in Microsoft Entra ID is a quick and easy way to enforce MFA registration. End users will be prompted and they will have 14 days to complete their MFA registration, as otherwise their sign-in will be blocked. You should not assign the managed identity contributor role to the end users. The managed identity contributor role provides end users with access to create, read, update, or delete user-assigned identities. This role cannot enforce MFA registration. You should not configure Azure Policy. Azure Policy can be used to enforce organizational standards in the setup and deployment of Azure resources, for example, what Azure Virtual Machine type to use and in what geographies. You should not grant owner role to all resource groups. Owner is one of the Azure built-in roles. It grants end users with full access to manage relevant Azure resources. In the shared responsibility model, for which 3 areas does the customer organization always retain responsibility? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. Physical network? No. Applications? I don't think so. Accounts and identities? Yes. Mobile and PC devices? Yes. Operating system? No. Information and data? Yes. Under the shared responsibility model, the customer organization is always responsible for accounts and identities, information and data, mobile and PC devices. The shared responsibility model defines responsibilities based on where the workload is hosted. It includes software as a service, platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, on premises. With software as a service, the service is hosted and managed by the cloud provider. The customer takes sole responsibility for accounts and identities, information and data, and mobile and PC devices. The customer and cloud provider share responsibility for the identity and directory service, while the cloud provider is fully responsible for the underlying platform that hosts the service. Platform as a service is designed to provide the customer organization with an environment for building, testing, and deploying software applications. Customer responsibilities include all those for software as a service, plus shared responsibility for application and network controls. In infrastructure as a service, the cloud provider maintains and manages the physical infrastructure, with all other responsibilities falling on the customer organization. In addition to customer responsibilities under software as a service, the customer also takes full responsibility for identity and directory infrastructure, applications, network controls, and operating system. Cloud provider responsibilities include physical hosts, physical data centers, and the physical network. Under the on-premise model, the customer is responsible for all hosting, management, and maintenance activities. You need to control permissions to manage Microsoft Entra resources using role-based access control. What is the minimum Microsoft Entra license required to meet each of the requirements? To answer, select the appropriate options from the drop-down menu. Monitor service health, free. Create a custom role for a specific resource, P1. This was at the end of the last test I took. Monitoring and service health can be performed by users with the built-in roles in Microsoft Entra, such as Service Support Administrator role. Using the built-in roles only requires the Microsoft Entra free license. Creating a custom role in Microsoft Entra requires a Microsoft Entra ID Premium license. The P1 is lower cost than P2 and can meet the requirements. You need to implement a policy within Microsoft Purview that meets the following requirements. Allow the encryption of emails and documents, allow the protection of information in SharePoint sites and Teams channels, allow the classification of information without the use of protection settings. What policy should you implement? Data loss prevention policy? No. Sensitivity label policy. You should implement a sensitivity label policy. Sensitivity label policies allow you to publish sensitivity labels to users and groups. These sensitivity labels allow you to encrypt emails and documents, protect your content that is stored in containers such as SharePoint sites and Teams channels, and classify your content without the need for any protection setting configuration. You should not implement data loss prevention policy. Data loss prevention policy allow you to monitor, identify, and protect sensitive information that is stored in your tenant. It includes features such as blocking the sharing of data that contains sensitive information like financial data and credit card numbers. You should not implement trainable classifiers. Trainable classifiers are used to classify your data. They use artificial intelligence and machine learning to classify data that is unique within the company. For example, specific kinds of customer records. There are two types of classifiers that can be implemented: pre-trained classifiers and custom trainable classifiers. You should not implement retention labels. Retention labels are used by organizations to assign retention settings to content. These settings can be assigned to folders, documents, or individual emails where you can only assign a single label at a time. Your company is using Microsoft Entra ID synchronized with on-prem Active Directory, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Azure Virtual Desktop. Windows 10 multi-session hosts. Which three Microsoft Cloud security platforms align with these cloud services? Each presents part of the solution. Your company is using Microsoft Entra ID synchronized with on-prem Active Directory, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and Azure Virtual Desktop Windows 10 multi-session hosts. Which three cloud security platforms align with these cloud services? So first is going to be Active Directory and Exchange Online, Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Defender for Identity, Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. I think that's it. Yeah. Microsoft Defender for Office 365, Microsoft Defender for Identity, and Microsoft Defender for Endpoint align with these cloud services. Microsoft Defender for Office 365 is part of the Microsoft Defender XDR suite and allows you to protect your collaboration tools, including Exchange Online and SharePoint Online. This cloud security service allows you to safeguard and protect your collaboration tools against malicious threats by allowing you to configure policies and automate investigations and remediation steps to create less work for your admins and SecOps teams. Microsoft Defender for Identity is part of the Microsoft Defender XDR suite and allows you to protect your on-premises Active Directory and Microsoft Entra ID objects to identify, detect, and investigate advanced threats. The cloud security service allows your SecOps teams to monitor users, protect identities stored in Active Directory, and provide incident information for fast triaging. Microsoft Defender for Endpoint is part of the Microsoft Defender XDR suite and enables you to protect your Microsoft or your Windows 10 devices for both physical and virtual. This cloud security service will enable you to protect your Windows 10 Azure Virtual Desktop virtual machines by using endpoint, behavioral sensors, cloud security analytics, and threat intelligence features. Microsoft Defender for Cloud does not align with these cloud services. Although this is a cloud security service, it is focused on protecting infrastructure as a service resources like servers, storage, Key Vault, and databases. It does not align with Microsoft 365 services that the company are currently using. Microsoft Defender or Defender Vulnerability Management does not align with these cloud services. This is a cloud security service that is part of the Microsoft Defender XDR suite. It gives you visibility, smart assessments, and built-in remediation tools for a variety of different operating systems, including Windows, macOS, Linux, Android, and network devices. Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence does not align with these cloud services. This is a cloud security service that allows your support teams to easily and quickly triage incident response, threat hunting, vulnerability management, and cyber threat intelligence. It includes features such as Defender, threat intelligence articles, public indicators, and vulnerability articles. Next. For each of the following statements, select yes if the statement is true, otherwise select no. Insider risk management provides a triage capability. Not sure what that means. With Insider Risk Management, you can enable forensic evidence capturing for offline devices. I'm not sure on that one either. Insider Risk Management automatically generates cases for the medium and high severity alerts. Yes. So this one was yes, yes, and no. Insider Risk Management provides a triage capability with new alerts with the need review status are generated. Reviewers are able to review them to dismiss, resolve by opening a new case, or assign to one of the existing cases. With Insider Risk Management, you can enable forensic evidence capturing for offline devices. As a prerequisite, target devices should be onboarded into the Microsoft Purview portal. They must also have the Microsoft Purview client application installed. The organization can then enable forensic evidence capturing for both online and offline devices. Insider Risk Management does not automatically generate cases for the medium and high severity alerts. Reviewers create cases manually when they decide that the raised alerts require further action. For example, assignment for a deeper investigation. Each case is focused on a single user, although a case may have several alerts assigned. What three of the following features form part of the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution? Each correct answer presents part of the solution. I think it's sensitivity labels, reputation, I don't know. I was wrong on that one. It's Defender TI articles. I don't know what those are. Defender Threat Intelligence articles is a feature of Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This feature shows information in the form of articles that Microsoft provides to give details about threat vectors, threat actors, tools, potential attacks, and vulnerabilities that have recently been detected in the industry. These articles help companies gain technical information so they can continually track threat vectors, tooling, attacks, and vulnerabilities in an ever-changing industry. Vulnerability articles is also a feature of the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This feature is similar to Defender Threat Intelligence articles in that it is information in the form of articles that Microsoft provide to offer certified vulnerability and exposures ID searches to assist companies find critical information about CVE. They also include Defender Threat Intelligence Priority Score and severity indicators that are a unique algorithm that reflects the priority of a CVE based on the CVSS score, exploits chatter and linkage malware. Reputation scoring is also a feature of Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This feature provides reputation scores for domains, hosts, or IP addresses. This score assists organizations to easily detect ties to malicious or suspicious infrastructure. Data loss prevention policy is not a feature of the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This is a feature of the Microsoft Purview compliance solution that allows companies to identify, monitor, and automatically protect sensitive items throughout Microsoft services, including Teams, Exchange Online, SharePoint Online, and OneDrive for Business. Sensitivity labels is not a feature of Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This is a feature of the Microsoft Purview compliance solution that allows companies to classify and protect their data at the same time as ensuring users stay productive and can still collaborate internally and externally without any delays. E-discovery is not a feature of the Microsoft Defender Threat Intelligence solution. This is a feature of the Microsoft Purview compliance solution, also known as electronic discovery. E-discovery enables organizations to identify and deliver information electronically that can be used in a scenario where evidence that is stored in Microsoft 365 tenant is required for a legal case. Next. And I'm actually going to go ahead and stop because my laptop's about to die. So, kind of just going off the fly here, but we'll keep these rolling and I'll pass the test on